Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Cam. It's the first Saturday of the month. That means it is time for another Movie Nerds Club video. And this month I'm going to be ranking my top 5 People's Choice Award winners from the Toronto International Film Festival. I myself have never been to TIFF. However, I am reliably informed that it's a pretty big deal. And I hope to go one day. I hope I can get this channel big enough to where I can apply for TIFF and they say, yeah, Ryan, come on up to Toronto. We'd love to have you. So, one day. But for right now, I can at least appreciate the winners that I chose for my list. And honestly, I was pretty spoiled for choice this time around. At least enough to have 2 honorable mentions. And those honorable mentions are Silver Linings Playbook and Nomadland. I love Silver Linings Playbook, especially for the dialogue, and I like the chemistry between Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence, and hey, I can't hate a movie with Chris Tucker in it. But sometimes I forget this movie existed, and I also forget that David O. Russell directed movies. I don't know, he directed Joy, and then he just disappeared. Anyway, and then Nomadland, which is the best picture of 2020. And I loved the movie. I thought it was really good. However, there are 5 other movies that I would watch over Nomadland. That's not to say that's a slight against Nomadland and its quality, because it is a really good movie. However, there are 5 others that I prefer. So let's get into the main list, starting with number 5. Number 5, The King's Speech. I also had this on my top 5 Oscar Best Picture winners list, and I promise I'm not trying to do an overlap of that list. When I saw The King's Speech on there, I was like, it's going on the list somewhere. Because I love this movie. I love the chemistry between King George VI and Lionel Logue, the various speech exercises that they do, and just the evolution of King George himself, going from just a horribly stuttering man and just completely in his own bubble, just so afraid to speak out on his own, to, King George VI. Still a stutterer to a certain extent, but more self-confident and more than ready to lead England through a pretty turbulent time, that being World War II. I will never forgive the Academy for not giving an Oscar to Geoffrey Rush. He deserved it. However, Colin Firth was really good and deserved his Oscar, so all's well that ends well. And then there's my favorite scene in the movie, where it's leading up to King George's coronation. He is scared to death. Lionel Logue is there, and he sits in St. Edward's chair. And King George freaks out. He's like, "You are sitting in St. Edward's chair!" And Lionel is like, "Oh, this old thing? Do you know how many royal asses have sat in this chair?" The whole double entendre is very nice. And they have a nice back and forth until King George just roars back with, "I have a voice!" with full conviction and not a stutter in sight. It's an excellent scene. And it's followed up immediately by Lionel practicing the whole, "Do you solemnly swear to protect the English people?" that whole speech. And with King George going, "I swear." It's a great scene. If you haven't seen The King's Speech for a really long time, check it out again. It's really good. It's much better than you remember. Number 4, The Imitation Game. This is the movie that formally introduced me to Benedict Cumberbatch, and wow, what a movie to introduce Benedict Cumberbatch to a young Ryan Cam, because I feel like this movie never gets talked about, and honestly, it should, because it is heart-wrenching. I had no idea who Alan Turing was before I saw this movie, and when this movie ended, I walked out of the theater and I said to myself, why isn't Alan Turing taught in schools? Like, why isn't there like an Alan Turing Day? Like he should have gotten all the awards, all the statues. He should have been celebrated. It's a heart-wrenching movie because, well, the whole angle that Alan Turing was a gay man in the mid-1940s in Britain, where it was a crime to be a homosexual. And, wow, there is just some really There's some difficult scenes in this movie, let's just say that. However, the acting across the board is brilliant, especially from Cumberbatch and Keira Knightley as well. And I'm not a humongous fan of hers, but this was her best performance in my opinion. And just the whole building of what would eventually become the Enigma machine is just such a race against time, where all of these people are doubting Alan. It's like, it will work. It's going to work. And you're just sitting there like, just leave Alan alone. He knows what he's doing. The first half is riveting. Then the second half, involving Alan Turing's personal life, oh my goodness, it is just... This movie grabs you by the throat and doesn't let you go. And that's why I love it so much. Number 3, The Princess Bride. I had to double and triple check, but yes, this movie did win the People's Choice Award at TIFF when it premiered. And, I mean, The Princess Bride is one of the most quotable movies of all time. I think about Princess Bride quotes all the time. Even though I know that at its heart this is a romance movie, there is so much other stuff going for it. You got sword fights, you got action, you got revenge. Andre the Giant is in this. Andre the Giant. It's like, what else do you need in a movie? Couple that with the framing device of this being told through the perspective of a young Fred Savage being sick and his grandfather reading this story to him. It's one of the more brilliant framing devices in movie history, in my opinion. This movie came at a time when Rob Reiner just had the Midas touch in terms of direction. And I think this might be his masterpiece, or at least one of them. Quite simply, if you have never seen this movie, it's inconceivable why you shouldn't watch it. I hope somebody got the reference. Number 2, Jojo Rabbit. My mind almost melted picking number 2 and number 1. I almost called it 1A and 1B because I love both number 2 and number 1 for a variety of reasons. However, when I walked out of Jojo Rabbit with my friend Tim, hi Tim, hopefully you're watching this, I was just both gutted and also hopeful all at once. This movie just solidified in my mind that no matter what Taika Waititi does, he will never not be an international treasure. On the face of it, a young boy whose imaginary friend is Hitler is a bit of a weird flex. However, through a combination of great dialogue and just a general great story with several peaks and valleys of being deathly serious one minute and lightheartedly silly another minute, and it all handles it incredibly well. Sam Rockwell should have gotten nominated for this movie, but he did not, which is just a tragedy. Not just him, but also the young boy who plays Jojo, I can't think of his name, and the little Jewish girl, again, I can't remember her name either, which is rather unfortunate for my brain, but they were both excellent. I hope they get work for the next 30 years. And then Scarlett Johansson. I think this may be ScarJo's best performance ever, in my opinion. The scene where, well, let's just say it involves Jojo and her shoes, and she's hanging from somewhere. Oh my god. I remember when I first watched this and I saw that scene, it was one of those things where it was like, what's happening? And then I just was like, I almost walked out of just shock and anger and sadness. It just, oh my god, that scene, it gives me PTSD. If you have not seen Jojo Rabbit, find it and watch it. It is more than worth your time. And my favorite People's Choice Award winner from the Toronto International Film Festival is La La Land. I have an entire video talking about why La La Land is better than you remember. It will be linked in the eye in the right-hand corner. So I'll try and keep my thoughts brief here. But is this as good as, say, Whiplash? No, I don't think so. I think that is Chazelle's masterpiece. However, this movie is still excellent. I love musicals, so when an original musical gets made, I always make a point of it to check it out. And this movie blew me away. From a music standpoint, it's just fantastic. I still listen to several La La Land songs to this day in the year of our Lord 2021. This movie came out in 2016. Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone's chemistry is just excellent. They have several scenes where there's little to no dialogue. It's just visual storytelling. And it's a masterpiece. It really is. My favorite scene in the movie is the ending. And I'll speak generally. I don't want to spoil it. But let's just say, after everything has happened, Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, they share a look. And then they have just a flash back and forth of what could have been, and then they return back to reality. They give each other a nod, and then they go about their separate ways. It's just great. It really is. Like I said, I have a whole video talking about this movie, so do be sure to check that out. However, La La Land is just excellent. Check it out if you haven't, especially if you haven't for a while. And that is my list. I'm not entirely sure how well it's going to go down, so what are your favorite TIFF movies or People's Choice Award winners from TIFF? Leave them in the comments below. I'd love to hear what your picks are. And do be sure to check out my fellow listmates. The links to their videos will be in the description below. I love all these creators, so please do be sure to check their videos out. They're all great. And if you'd like to check out past Movie Nerds Club videos from me, there will be a playlist link in the eye in the right-hand corner, so do check that out. And then, tomorrow, I'll be releasing a video for Hell or High Water from director David Mackenzie and script from Taylor Sheridan. It is much better than you remember. But if you like this video, please be sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts down below, and if you like this video and you want to see more like it, hit the subscribe button and click the bell to allow notifications. That way, when a new video drops, you'll be the first to know about it. My name is Ryan Cam, and I'll see you in the next one.